I'm Jess, and depending who you talk to, I'm the social media manager or the digital marketing specialist. And this is the show to show you how to make your own podcast. This is the show to show you how to make your very own podcast.
How you record is really important. You could record the best podcast episode ever in the whole world, and when you listen back, it sounds like a New York City subway conductor. So before you press record, there are some things that you should know. I'm calling up Jason, who actually edits this very podcast.
Hey, Jess, are you done with episodes 6 to 10 yet?
You're inside one episode right now. Ooh.
What?
I'm recording.
I should have known.
Well, I'll get episodes 6 to 10 done if you're my guest, won't I?
Well, I mean, that's one way to do it.
Yeah, well, so you know how this show works. As you know, Chris already told the audience how to set up recording space and what equipment to buy, or rather not buy. Do you have any advice about how to start recording?
Sure. I would say the main thing you want to do is just to not overthink it. And if you want to start a podcast, you probably already have everything you need to get started right now. For example, you could just pick up your phone, open up your voice memo app, and you could just start recording your podcast like that and just keep it very simple.
Oh, cool. I know there's stuff like GarageBand and stuff like that, like if they have a Mac. Do you recommend any user-friendly DAWs to start out with? Also, what's a DAW?
Sure. If you want to actually use your Mac or your PC to record, there are some very easy and free to use applications out there, like Audacity works on PC or Mac, or if you have Mac, you already get GarageBand for free. These are great fully featured DAWs or digital audio workstations that you can also use to record and edit your podcast.
Okay, cool. What are we recording with right now?
We are using an online service called CleanFeed, which just uses your web browser, and it just uses whatever microphone you have plugged into your PC. And it's a great way if you want to have your friends or guests on your podcast to get two people to connect wherever they are in the world.
Yeah, what I love about CleanFeed is right now it's just recording both of us. I'm recording us on separate tracks, but it takes all of the pain and guesswork and everything out of everything. I hear Jason, so I know it's recording his side. And what's fun about CleanFeed is you can load up clips and play them. So for example, when you're listening to Rewind and we're playing clips from the episode, that's because on CleanFeed we can just click a button and the little clip plays. So it's super easy to use. Do you know if there's any comparable ones to CleanFeed?
I'm sure probably everyone is familiar with Zoom now, having all survived through the pandemic.
True that, yeah.
And Zoom is just another service. It has a good audio quality and it's free to use. And one of the good features about a lot of these online services, they actually allow you to use discrete tracks. So everyone ends up on their own track. So then when you go to edit and assemble your podcast, you just get a little bit more separation between the voices and it can be a little bit easier to really dial in your sound of your show.
Does Zoom do that?
It does.
I had no idea. Okay, sick. Okay.
There's a menu item that's very deeply down in the preferences where you can turn that on.
Okay. Wow, I really didn't know that. That's really helpful. So what about the microphone itself? Is there anything special we need to know about recording?
I would say there's a ton of microphones out there to choose from, but again, you don't want to think too much about it because a lot of them are basically the same. They just have slightly very, very small sound differences between them. Mm-hmm. The main thing you want to do is just control your distance to the microphone because that's going to be one of the biggest things that's actually going to help the sound quality of your show. And you want to be close, but not too close. I would say for most people, about 6 to 8 inches away, because when you get too close, then you start to get these artifacts like plosives. Like if you say the word pickle, you start to get this big puff of air on the P sounds.
Pickle, like that.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And then if you say the word snake or Jessica Fisher, you would get all the S's create a sibilant sound, which is kind of like an ice pick in the ear and just not very pleasant to listen to. And that's what happens if you get too close. Now, on the opposite side, if you get too far away, then your level starts to drop a little bit and you're going to get a lot of noise because when you go to turn your voice up later, all the noise that's in the room, your air conditioner, anything that's happening on the street, all that noise is going to come up with it. So you want to make sure to stay close enough to the microphone so that you get pretty much just your vocal that's getting picked up. All the background noise is going to just fall away to the noise floor, but you don't want to create all those plosives and sibilants as well.
So what's a pop filter?
A pop filter is just a very simple little device, just a small piece of a mesh cloth over a small frame, and you would actually put it in between your mouth and the microphone. And what it does is it just helps to control the flow of air, which is actually leaving your mouth and actually hitting the microphone. And it's a great way to help reduce some of those plosives and that sibilance.
Okay, so I have this in front of my mic right now, and now it's gone. Yeah, exactly. Another thing about a pop filter is there's some things like mouth sounds that are pretty unpleasant, like the ones that you were talking about, but also about saliva sounds.
Yes.
That a pop filter also helps to get rid of. But there are other, this is actually not in the outline, but I thought of this. What should you be aware of when it comes to like literally saliva? You know what I mean? Like, should you be aware of that when you're recording?
I would say before you actually sit down and record, you should always have something to drink with you. And I would recommend nothing too cold because you just want to make sure that your throat is nice and relaxed and all the blood is flowing and just you're feeling nice and loose and open. And, stopping every few minutes if you feel that saliva start to build up in your mouth, just stop every few minutes during you record your podcast, and you can edit this out later, and just take a drink. Either it's like some nice room temperature water or some tea. You could always use some lozenges or some Altoids or something like that. And just always just kind of check in with yourself, see how you're feeling, and just take a little refreshment when you need it.
Yeah, I do voiceovers on the side, and about every, I want to say 5 minutes, I go, which is gross, but it's clearing, like it's like almost like drying it out a little bit. I take a sip of water and I go, and that's a typical voice actor thing to do to get rid of the sticky sounds, the sticky sounds.
Do you wear a scarf all winter to keep your throat nice and limber?
I do wear a scarf all winter. And I live in Los Angeles, so that also helps.
Which helps.
Which helps a lot. Okay, sweet. So what if while you're recording, you're thinking to yourself, me and my guest went on a little bit of a tangent. Do you have any quick tips about editing?
The first tip about editing is to not feel bad about editing. I know a lot of people have perfectionist mindsets and they want to do everything perfectly the first time, and they want to hit record and just do the whole episode from beginning to end and everything's perfect. But it almost never happens like that. And I would say every movie you've ever watched, every TV show you've ever watched, every book you've ever read, they've all been edited. So just realize that it's part of the production process. And I would say even allow, through the recording process, allow yourself the liberty of editing as you're actually recording. So if you get into a spot where you stumble a little bit and you just want to redo something, you can always just make a little audio note for yourself. You can always just say, cut this, Jason. And then when you're going through listening later on, then you'll be, okay, this is something that I just want to cut out. And you just simply, and don't get frustrated, just take a breath, use your same voice, and just simply like re-ask your question or say what you wanted to say again. So just make it easier on yourself later on to do the edit.
Yeah, that's true. Sometimes I'll even clap if I want to know like at what point. That's a great idea. Yeah, so you can see the waveform. You can see like a huge jump when you clap because it's loud. I laughed when Jason said, "Cut this, Jason," because when we're recording 6 Minutes Rewind, we record for like an hour, and then we'll be like, "All right, Jason, cut this part. Okay, Jason, we messed up. Cut this part." So we're always talking to Jason.
Juicy outtake episode coming soon.
Juicy. Oh no. All right, folks. I think it's time for homework. So play with your mic if you got one, like if you got one of the ones that Chris recommended, play with your mic, see what it sounds like with the label facing toward you, with the label facing away. That's some really great advice. I used to record my podcast with the label facing away and it sounded like garbage.
No.
I know, because I didn't know. Play with mic distance and have a lot of fun with it. You can listen back and hear how it sounds differently and try to achieve the best sound possible. Great. Okay, so Jason, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Jess.
I'll get those episodes to you soon.
Hurry, Chris is on me.
Okay. Podcast Title Pending is a production of Gen Z Media. If you're an educator using podcasts in your classroom, visit us at gzmclassroom.com for materials, lesson plans, or to request a visit from a GZM creator. For more great family audio, go to gzmshows.com and follow us on social media at Gen Z Shows. Be sure to follow Podcast Title Pending wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss any new episodes.
It's starting.
GZM Shows. Imagination